Hi, all. Thank you for coming. Welcome. I'm James. This is Alex.
And we are developer relations engineers at Google. We are huge fans of building cool things with code, like many of you. We're always on the lookout for tools that let us spend less time fighting with configuration and more time actually building. And that's exactly why we are here today. We want to make it easy for you and your team to embrace the state-of-the-art AI, no matter where you are. We offer AI tools and extensions across a variety of surfaces, and we make them available across web, through both and mobile experiences, and even the terminal. We will start by creating a new app using a back-of-the-napkin sketch in AI Studio. We could also use Firebase Studio or Gemini AI for this, but I particularly enjoy the sleek interface of AI Studio for prototyping quick ideas. Then we will look at rules, which are also known as prompt context. Alongside extension and MPC servers, they allow us to truly configure the way an AI behaves so that we make it personalized for our own needs. We have multiple surfaces that support this, but I will use Gemini CLI since it is my favorite and I run it almost everywhere, even including on my Raspberry Pi at home. Today, our focus will be on just figuring out what a rules file looks like. But don't forget to look up into the popular community-contributed extensions like Firebase that you can install and use. And finally, we will examine the steps necessary to integrate state-of-the-art AI into your front-end app, leveraging our unique Firebase AI Logic SDK and AppCheck integration, keeping everything running fast and secure. OK, let's see how quickly we can get started from an idea to a working prototype. This is a sketch. It was hand-drawn and Gemini enhanced. I had to enhance it with Gemini because the napkin was incredibly bright, and I saw this awesome screen, so I didn't want to blind anybody in the audience. So let's see what we can do with this sketch. So today, we'll be using the image that you saw just now. And as you can see, I dictated through using speech-to-text what I want the app to feel like. I want it to be fun, so I can play it with my kids. Now, if you're on the go, if you're not on the go, though, you can also use Firebase Studio instead and have more control over the generation, or even go the Gemini CLI route and really feel in the driver's seat. Now, we see that reasoning took exactly 46 seconds for Gemini Pro, and now it's generating the code. I decided to speed up some portions of the process so you get the gist of it without having to go too deep into details. However, you can still see the timestamp on the screen, and I hope the text is also clear for you to follow through with what is exactly happening. So, really important, before going forward, we want to validate that the app does exactly what we expect it to do. And looks good, so we will push the source code to GitHub. And then we will look at how we configure a smooth developer experience for our team so that they can also contribute. And James?
Next, your teammate will be cloning a repo, installing dependencies, and suddenly they're in the 9th circle of hell, right? It's a universal developer experience. We've all been there, staring at an error message that makes no sense because some package somewhere has a version conflict with another package you didn't even know you were using. This initial friction, the setup tax, is a silent killer of productivity. And let's be honest, our enthusiasm. And this leads us to the most infamous phrase in all of software development. The shield we use when QA raises a bug. but it works on my machine. We've all said it, we've all heard it, and while it's funny, it points to a fundamental problem. Our development environments are fragile, inconsistent, and a massive source of works here, breaks there bugs. This isn't just a meme, it's a symptom of a deep-seated issue in our workflows. Unless you have Firebase Studio, an agentic cloud-based development environment that helps you build and ship production quality, full-stack AI apps, including APIs, backends, front ends, mobile, and more. It's entirely web-based. Just visit a URL in your coding. Oops. It's built on VS Code, so not only is it incredibly familiar to most devs, but you can bring most of your existing preferences, extensions, and muscle memory to the web. Now, it's important to note that this is full cloud VM, meaning you're not limited to things that run entirely in the browser. There's a Linux machine powering every Firebase Studio workspace. We've also got several Google integrations that make it easier to add APIs like Gemini and Google Maps to your app, and easier to deploy to the cloud with Firebase hosting or Cloud Run. We've got a built-in live preview. And as just about every Google surface in 2025, Gemini is built in, so you can get help understanding, generating, and improving code. There are also integrations that help you troubleshoot errors with AI and more. At the heart of Firebase Studio is a single file called dev.nix. If you're working on a team with other contributors, you can customize your environment precisely for your project and then commit your Nix file to your project's Git repo. That way, when a teammate imports the repo in Firebase Studio, their workspace will have the exact same configuration as yours, complete with the same system packages, IDE extensions, starter scripts, and more. I really love how David East at Google puts it. Nix is like a package JSON for your entire development environment. Nix defines just about everything you need to work with on your app and run it in the cloud. From system packages and services like compiler tool change, local database servers, to IDE extensions that add language support and debugging, to the specific wiring needed to boot up your front-end and back-end servers automatically so you can preview your app while you're writing code. It's all defined in one file. Pretty sweet. Let's take a look at an example Nix file. It starts by specifying a Nix channel, stable 24.11 in this particular case, which is great because it means that this environment's going to run exactly the same in 2 years as it does today. Using a specific version here basically ensures your... I said that just now. Next, we're setting a few environment variables. You can fine-tune your app's live preview integration, among other things. Remember, the dev.nix file is committed to Git, so be mindful of what you add here. Next are all the system packages you want installed and available. Now, because Firebase Studio is based on CodeOSS, we support most extensions people would want. One caveat is that these come from the open marketplace called OpenVSX, not from VS Code's official marketplace. Most extensions tend to be dually published to both marketplaces. Next, we have lifecycle hooks. OnCreate is where, OnCreate is run when a user first creates their workspace from a template, or when they first import the Git repo into Firebase Studio. It lets you do one-time setup, like running npm install, or seeding data in your database. In my case, I'm also opening a file in the code editor. The second lifestyle hook is on start, particularly useful when running your app requires supporting your live preview, or running other services at the same time within the VM. And speaking of which, this preview section defines the previews you want available for your app. Today, there are two kinds: an Android preview, which spins up an Android emulator, and the one we use here, a web preview, which boots up your app's HTTP server and shows it inside an embedded browser in the IDE. If you're building a framework or library for others to use, you can include Nick's file in your sample code repositories so that when a user imports your samples into Firebase Studio, they can skip the environment setup and jump straight into trying out your framework. You can even build your own custom template as an opinionated, customizable starting point for your users. Now, there is a lot more to Nix and Firebase Studio, so if you want to be in the know, I'd strongly recommend watching David East's video and checking out our blog.
Now, let's talk about how Gemini coding agents can accelerate your app development. And who's ready for a demo? Pre-recorded one, to make it fast. OK, so first, we will import the GitHub repo that we just created. And when opening an existing repo for the first time, Studio will automatically configure a workspace for us. If needed, we have the option to customize our Nix file. Then the workspace will reload, and the updated environment will show up. Now, once we're happy with how the IDE looks and behaves, let's go beyond Code Assistant with a rapid iteration using the Gemini agent integrated right here in Firebase Studio. I want to add a little bit of sparkle to this app before I show it to my son. So I thought having a confetti effect will be just the right thing whenever he gets the answer correct. So that's what I asked Gemini to do, and there you go. It already proposed the change. I will go ahead and quickly review it to make sure that it's about the thing that I had in mind, and looks like it is. So I'm gonna apply it and do another quick test. All right. We do have a confetti effect. However, you noticed it stopped real quickly after it started. Well, I wanted to stay there for a little longer. I also wanted to start the next problem soon after. So there we go. Let's do a follow-up request to add a countdown timer and to make sure that effect stays a little bit longer. Now, Gemini again proposed the solution. I went ahead, approved it. Time to do a quick test. Now, as you see, I'm testing these things manually because for me, that's probably the fastest way. For some other use cases, I would, however, invite you to try some of the extensions that we have available. And I want to show you one more cool thing that you can do right away. Having a rules file in your project allows you to control how an AI assistant behaves. And think of it as a set of instructions or a rule book. It is generally a markdown file, and you create it alongside your source code. Inside the file, you provide how you want Gemini, or for instance, any other code generation agent to behave. This is an incredibly useful tool because it ensures consistency, quality in generated code, and it saves you from repeating yourself over and over about your preferences and your voice. This saves you time. It helps AI become more integrated part of your development workflow, and it's also a cool way to pass on your work to your colleagues if you're not around. Now let's walk through an example. Here, the first section is a persona where I set the AI's personality. I think it's just really cool to act as a Vulcan. Logical, concise, and to the point. Now, as you can see here, we just talked about the persona, so it will primarily influence the way AI will respond in our chat, and it will influence less so the generation. However, we can also have instructions that will guide things like semantic rules or style in the code. For instance, here, I would want to make sure that the AI-generated code falls within the boundaries of the code that I'm already writing or crafting by hand in other places. I want it to be consistent, hence why I'm explicitly instructing the AI to always declare the type and to avoid any which I really don't like to see in my code. Finally, since we are doing React, there are certain things which I found to be really useful in my project, so I'm going to mention here. As you can see, the ARules MD file is a powerful tool for shaping Gemini into the perfect collaborator for all your needs. It allows you to define everything from the way the AI will communicate to how it should reason about the code and what are the guardrails for generating. Now, let's take a look at Gemini CLI and see another agent in action. Launching it is very straightforward. You just have to install the package in your terminal. In this case, Firebase Studio already comes pre-built with it, and you launch it. First time you launch it, you have to authorize it, and then you see a screen like this one. You can ask it questions about your code, referencing the context that you want it to see. In this case, I referenced one file, operator pad. Or you can ask it to do a change. Just like before, it will by default tell you what it intends to do, and it's up to you to approve. You can also use YOLO mode if you're in the mood, but here I will actually review every change manually so that I don't have to do this due diligence later when I submit my code. One suggestion on how to approve changes is whenever you see a change that you believe to be safe, for instance, a list command, you can allow the entire family of such commands to run in the future, so you don't have to press yes every time. Whenever you see a code change that you don't intend to review later, it's better just to review it now. I find it really useful doing it like this. As you can see, we just updated the app. And if you want, you can review the recording and see into more details what exactly happened. Or even better, I encourage you to check out Gemini CLI extensions. Here you'll find lots of popular community-contributed things. And you maybe were wondering, what does extension do? Well, let's take an example. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to look up a security extension. Why? Well, I have a lot of AI-generated code, and I only had time to read it at a high level. I want to get some tips on whether I should investigate certain aspects of my code more deeply. So I see that the extension was installed successfully, and I'll run it and ask Gemini to analyze the code in my app. Here we can see that Gemini created a plan, which is, why did it create the plan? That's how it was instructed in the prompt file that was bundled with the extension. Now, once it finished the plan, it will start executing it. It asked for me to approve it, grabbing the Git history to see what was changed lately. And then it went ahead and analyzed everything step by step. Finally, it will ask for one more approval and give me the results. As you can see, a best practice is to verify external sources of data for safety, which is exactly the thing that it spotted. This is just one Gemini extension, and all of them can help you keep a high bar in both quality and efficiency throughout your engineering process. So you will be able to set up not only your environment, but also your process. Now I'll let James talk a bit about something else really cool.
And let's take a look at Firebase AI logic. Firebase AI logic allows developers to directly call the Gemini API from their mobile apps using client SDKs. This enables features like AI chat experiences, image generation, function calling, and streaming input-output without requiring a dedicated backend. For more complex AI workflows requiring server-side logic, GenKit, Firebase open source framework, provides broad access to various models, including Gemini, and advanced AI features. Let's take a look at an example. First, we'll import the Firebase app and Firebase AI packages. Then, initialize the Firebase app with your custom configuration. Initialize the Gemini Developer API backend service with an AI model, in our case, Gemini 2.5 Flash. Define a text prompt. Generate text output using the prompt. In this example, we see the shorthand text-only version of generate content, but we also have a version with support for multiple inputs with PDFs, images, audio, and even video content. You can use Firebase Cloud Storage to conveniently manage these files. We also support output processing for tool calls, search grounding, and code execution. Here's another example, but this time we have the Google Developer API return a multimodal response. We're using the popular Nano Banana model to generate images, hence we're setting the generate configs response modalities to return both text and image. As like before, define the text prompt, then generate an image using the prompt. The Gemini API free tier available on the no-cost Spark pricing plan is served through the API service with lower rate limits for testing purposes, but it does offer a generous number of requests, which should be sufficient in most development needs. This was just scratching the surface. For more advanced features, check out our docs on Firebase Studio, Gemini CLI, and the Gemini models.